Yes, we live tonight. It's Mike Melton, your host. Mike Melton, your host on In the Spotlight Live. And I'm live with um I'm live tonight with Coach Rasheed Wesley. She, what's going on with you tonight, good brother?
Oh man, nothing much, man. Just happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No doubt, man. It's been a while since I seen you in person, but we talked on the phone a lot, man. And I'm glad to have you on here, bro. You got a wealth of history, and I always wanted to ask you some questions about different things. You know what I'm saying, about your success and some of the roads you travel, man. So it's truly an honor to have you on here, man. Thanks for
Nah,
coming
thank you
again.
again. Oh nah, my pleasure, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I know that you guys are from you from the Chester area, but now you live in Atlanta area, right?
Yeah, born and raised, man. X6, as they say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's what we're gonna start off at, man. Explain to me how a city of that small can have such a rich basketball tradition, man.
I mean, growing up, that's what it was in Chester. It was a small city. You know what I mean? And every kid wanted to play for Chester High. So basketball before the saying was life was actually life in Chester. Not just for the high school, but Memorial Park. They had summer leagues out there. The Cage, off of Seventh Street. So it's great history. In with basketball from the Chester area.
Okay. And how early I had heard about you guys biddy league and stuff like that. Like, how
Right.
prominent is that in your city?
Oh man, growing up again, Biddy League, it was a thing before AAU. Those guys that played Biddy League made the All Star team. They were traveling to Puerto Rico, New Orleans, things of that nature. And just let other parts of the country that Chester has some serious basketball players. And it's funny though, Mike. I
Hmm.
never played basketball.
For real?
Never played basketball because I felt I was too small. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So I never played basketball. So yeah, a lot of people don't know that. I actually played football in high school and college.
mm. Yeah. So how did you get involved in youth basketball, man?
I was coaching weight league Chester Panthers, and one of the coaches he coached big league basketball. So
Hmm.
he noticed how I responded to the kids and vice versa. So he
Hmm.
said, "Hey, did you ever coach basketball?" And I was like, "Nah." He said, "Well, I got a game Saturday. I want you to come help me coach." And I'm
Hmm.
like, "Okay." So I coached the first game. You know what I mean? Second game, third game, and then he said, "She, just like football, you kind of got a natural talent for it."
Froze, bro. Yeah, he froze up a little bit. This one, this one of the things that happened on the live. Yeah, he froze up a little bit. Hopefully, he'll come right back on. Yeah, man. There's one thing that happens when you do the live. Sometimes somebody will freeze or thing of that nature. Let me see. You good
All
now?
right, there we go. We back. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
So, just started coaching, and then he is actually the one that got me into AAU basketball. So from that biddy thing, you know what I mean. He was like, "Hey, you ever coach AAU?" And I never heard of AAU, and I was like, "What's that?" So he
Mm,
kind of explained to me, and I started with Championship Sports that was run by Aaron Wilson, who was the mayor of the city of Chester.
okay, okay.
So I got started with that. I had an eighth grade team, and you know, had a few good players. A couple kids from the city of Chester. I had a point guard from Coatesville, Lamar Brickers, and I
Mhm,
had Will Sheridan that ended up going to Villanova. So
mhm, mhm.
Ray Barbosa. So I had some players, but again, I was just getting my feet wet. And that year, we actually placed 14th in the country, and
Mm.
I was like, damn man, this is cool. So the very next year, then that's when I was a head coach, and
Okay. Okay.
it went from there. So I got my start with Championship Sports, and then we left that program and started Del Val with Jim Starkey. Jim
Okay.
actually coached DeJuan Wagner. That's when I first met Wani and OG Arthur Barkley and those guys. So I met
Okay.
them, and was with Del Val for maybe like two years, and
Mhm.
then I was introduced to a guy named Q Gaskins.
Mm.
So he was part of the Del Val organization. Starkey kind of introduced us, and one year I think his son was 12. His son Pop was 12 or 11,
Mhm. Mhm.
and we brought a team to Atlanta. We played in the Wilder Prather Classic.
Mhm.
And that's when I had, we brought Tyreek down and, some Chester kids. And Q was like, man, I like this. So, at the time, I didn't know how influential he was. I just knew that he worked for Reebok and he was AI man.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Okay.
he was like, yo, I like what we doing. I like what y'all doing. He said, I'm gonna get with Allen and my people's at Reebok, and I'm gonna see if we want to put a team, sponsored by AI. So
Mm.
we were down here in Atlanta in a hotel room, and he was like, "Yo, I got it." And he came up with the name, which was the Raiders, and it stood for Reebok Education. No, Reebok Allen Iverson Education, Dedication, Respect, Sportsmanship. So that's what Raiders stand for.
Wow, I never knew that, bro. I
Yeah,
never knew
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I never knew that, man. I never knew that. So, what
yeah.
grade was these guys in when y'all started it?
Sixth and seventh grade,
Okay. Okay.
sixth and
Okay.
seventh
Okay.
grade. So we played, like I said, at that time, Tyreek Evans was, an up and coming player in the city.
Mhm.
So we came down to Atlanta, and Reek, you know, did his thing. He was a focal point of the team.
Mhm.
So the next year, they were in the seventh grade. So the next year, that's when everything, came to fruition, and Q put everything together, and we started the Raiders.
Yeah. Yeah. I looked it up. Did some research on y'all, and I see the first year, seventh grade year, y'all went to the nationals in seventh grade, right?
Yes, went to the
And
Nationals.
yeah, and I saw y'all got bumped a little early, and then y'all came back that next year and went rampant. Like, what was the difference in the years?
So it was crazy. Again, this is my first year, what I mean, on big time ball, right?
Uh
So I
huh. Uh
remember
huh.
clear as day, Mike. Our first game, we played the Cincinnati Royals, right?
Mhm.
So, one thing about Q with the program, because of his basketball history and background, we played and traveled like NBA players, college players.
Mm.
So, these kids was what, 12 years old, maybe 13 years old. We stayed at the Horseshoe Casino in Tunica, Mississippi, but we're playing in Memphis. So,
Uh huh.
I'm like, wow, like, and it was just a good vibe. So we playing in Memphis, but we stayed in Tunica, which is 45 minutes away. You
Mhm.
know, first time at the Nationals, Mike, I brought the wrong jerseys, bro. Brought the wrong jerseys. So you know what that means? Start the game off, they shooting text.
mm.
We was down 10-0.
Wow.
We lost that first game by 2.
Mm.
So, learning lesson.
Mhm.
So, like I said, and then, I think we went 2-1 in pool play, got the bracket play, and we lost. And, you know, at the time, Brandon Jennings was the top player in that class.
Mhm.
So after we got knocked out, we went, and I'm still learning, so I'm observing, and we went to watch him play.
Mhm.
So everybody was like, "Oh, Brandon Jennings, Brandon Jennings." So Q looked at Reek and said, "Reek, is that kid better than you?" Reek was like, "No." We said, "Well, everybody in his gym said yes."
Mm.
And he told us, he said, "Coach, watch what I do next year." He said,
Mm.
"I just need two new players."
Mm.
Who you want? He said, "We need a big man." Okay. And he said, "Now what? Nas, which is Nasir Robinson. And Nas
Mm.
is my cousin."
Mm.
So we went from losing second, third round, seventh grade year, like you said, to the next year, man. We did our thing.
Mm. Now let's get to that eighth grade year. You guys are hitting the road heavy. You was playing some top tournaments, and one of the competitors y'all used to run against was Team Next. Talk about some of the showdowns y'all had with those guys.
It actually started that seventh grade year. We
Okay,
played them
okay.
in tournament in Delaware, and man,
Mhm.
Lance, was Mike Irvin, the point guard Mike Irvin,
Irvin Walker. Irvin
Irvin
Walker.
Walker. I'm sorry, Irvin
Yeah,
Walker. Irvin
yeah.
Walker. They had another light skinned big boy. Uh,
Mhm.
they smash us, and you know how New York dudes is.
Mm.
They just start talking trash. They just
Mhm.
killed us. And they beat us in Delaware. You know what I'm saying? So
Wow.
you're like, oh, we come to y'all hood. Woo, woo. Okay. So again, that was another, feather that kind of got us, motivated.
Mhm.
And that eighth grade year, man, we just remember those things. And it started. It was a tournament in Texas, so
Mm.
they invited us out, invited those guys out. We end up beating a team from Texas in the Final Four, and they end up beating whoever they played. So we played them in
Mm.
the championship, and
Mm.
they beat us in the championship in overtime. And as
Mm.
we walking out the gym, Nas and Rick said, "Yo, man, we ain't gonna lose to these dudes no more."
Mm.
So that kind of got the fire burning, and it was always just that good friendly rivalry because Mike Moore was the coach, I believe, at that time, and
Mhm. Mhm.
I just like how he ran his program and ran his team. Like he had a bunch of dogs, and
Mhm.
it was good friendly bump, as they say. And I just learned a lot from just watching him play. You know what I mean? Irv Walker, smallest dude on the court, biggest heart on the court. Like that dude
Mhm.
he could hoop. Of
Mhm.
course, what I mean, with Lance, born ready, you
Mhm.
know, that was some good basketball. And when I finally knew we had them, we played them in a tournament. We had a tournament in Chester at Tri-State.
Mhm.
And we mashed it up to where we would meet them in a championship. How back then you set it up how you wanted to set it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we I had a kid, Jermaine Jackson from Reading,
I remember
six
him.
seven kid. You know what I mean? So Nasir, I had Zoe Alonzo, of course Reed. We had Dwayne. We had some Philly kids, but the crew was from Chester,
Mhm.
and we got them dudes down, in our backyard, and it was crazy because it was a point of the game when, and this is the first time ever that I saw Lance not want to stick Reed. Like
Mm.
he didn't want to, I was like, somebody better get him. And they was arguing who's gonna stick Reed.
Mm.
So it was at that point I was like, yeah, we got these dudes,
Mm.
you know.
Mm.
So but it was always good friendly, games, man, well respected games, and one thing that I applaud Mike, when we went on the road, we had study hall. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So we, like I said, we treated those kids like, big time athletes. So they had study hall. So Mike never saw that. He was like, man, y'all make y'all kids study? Yeah, they got to study.
Mm. I like
So
that. I like that. I like that. So during that season, when was the point that you kind of felt I got a national championship caliber type squad here?
um to be honest, when we got to the nationals.
Mm. Take us there. Take us there when y'all arrived.
So, everybody was talking about Master P. Even before
Mm.
that, we played at Bob Givens, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, in Carolina. And everybody was talking about Bob Givens. And, a good friend of ours, Rashawn Glenn, he was
Mhm.
like, man,
Mhm.
I'm telling y'all, like, them dudes from Chester, the Raiders, he's like, them dudes legit. And so that year, the farthest we went was Ohio. We played in all Ohio tournament. So,
Mhm.
we only went as far as Ohio, but we played up and down the East Coast.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
no, I'm sorry, we went to Texas, but that was the very first game of that year.
Mhm.
So nobody really seen us. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? P was taking his kids all around, doing his thing when that crew he had, So outside the East Coast, we didn't really get no love.
Mhm.
But once we got to the Nationals, I knew we was ready because going to the Nationals, we had lost 5 games by a total of 9 points.
Wow.
Right. And every game we lost, Mike, we had a chance to win or tie the game last possession. So I knew
Wow.
he was ready. I knew he was ready.
Wow. So you get down to Orlando and you start making a run, and What's the feeling going on with the squad during this time?
They was locked in. We went down. Back then, the national was a week long event,
Mm-hmm.
so we
Mm-hmm.
went down a week early to let them have
Mm.
fun. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I knew they was locked in when the tournament started. They didn't want to get in the pool.
Mm.
Them dudes did not get in the pool, man.
Mm.
And that's again, one of the things QC said, we're gonna go down early, let them have their fun. He said, but once we start, we locked in. And those kids, they did not get into the pool until the night we won the championship game. After that.
Wow. 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 So y'all make y'all run, then y'all getting close, Elite Eight. Did you see a shift when y'all started getting close to the end?
Yeah, yeah. So again, Master P was there, his crew. So he's getting all the love. The one thing that was funny to me was how you the host team, but your team is based out of Cali. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I knew we had them when we played them in that Elite Eight game. And
Which y'all played him in the Final Four,
no,
right?
play him in the final four. I'm sorry, you played him in the final four.
Now,
I
who
know
he
we
had
had
on
them.
his team? He had DeMar DeRozan and who
Oh
else?
man, shit, man. He had a Division I squad.
Mm.
He had Brandon Jennings,
Mm.
Larry Allen,
Mm.
DeMar DeRozan,
Mm.
Baby Shaq, and he had this
Mm.
Spanish kid, Edward. No, he had Malik Story.
Mm.
Like he had a crew. He
Mm.
had a crew, and he had Romeo. So,
Mm.
like,
So
and
take me to that Final Four game when y'all locked up.
so we do a little warm up, and you know how you warm up the opposite bench, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we locked in. We coming out there. We warming up, and he comes to me and say, "Oh, we want to warm up right here. Y'all supposed to warm up down there." And I looked at him. I said, "Yo, you worried about what side you warm up on?" He said, "Well, I got a lot of fans." And I said, "Yo, all these fans up here, they are fans." He just started
Mm.
laughing. I huddled up my kids. I said, "Yo, we got these jokers." Because you worried about what side, like a warm up?
Mm.
Nah.
Wow. Wow.
But man, I remember that game clear as day, and that was back in 2004.
Mm.
You
So
know,
how did it go? Was it a jump off from the beginning? Was it tight?
it was tight.
Take us through the bout.
So first quarter, Brandon doing this thing. You know what I mean? And we had, I had a kid from Philly named Courtney Stanley. He
I
ended up going
remember
to.
him. I remember him. I remember
So
him.
we call Court the locksmith. Like Court,
Mm-hmm.
okay, Court. Like listen, this he going crazy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to shut this dude down. And doing this thing, Reek doing this thing, Nas doing this thing. Like it was a good battle. So we were down 6 at halftime, right?
Mm.
And as well as they were playing, for us to be down 6, I'm talking about they wasn't missing, bro. You know what I mean? Brandon getting to the cup, Malik knocking down threes. They had the 6'7" Spanish kid knocking down threes. Baby Shaq. So I'm like, yo, we gonna be straight. So come out of halftime, Reek drained the 3. Now we down 3. Come down, Nas get an and 1, tie ball game. Come down, Reek hit another 3. Now we go up 3. He don't call timeout. I looked at
Mm.
Q. I said, Q, my exact words, we got these motherfuckers.
Mm.
And Brandon couldn't get what he wanted. Court was locking him up. They was just getting frustrated, and we ended up beating them and went to the championship. We played DTA Wisconsin. They had the kid Corey Lucius.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
We
remember
played,
that.
yeah, we played them in the championship. And in the championship game, believe it or not, I had to pull Reek.
What happened?
He wasn't playing up to his standards, you know.
Wow.
And I called a timeout, and I told him, I said, look, man, this is basketball. Win or lose, we gonna love you regardless. And I just think that he was trying to play for everybody else but himself and his teammates.
Now, back then, did y'all play both games on the same night, or did y'all play and then y'all waited another day and played?
So yeah, so we played the Final Four game that one night, and then we played the
Okay.
championship the next day.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Keep going. Keep going.
So I set him down, and I think we were down maybe like 10.
Mm.
And for a kid of that caliber, for me to sit him, that took some guts as a coach. But I wanted the kid to know that it wasn't about winning this game, bro. Like, nah, this is just basketball. It's bigger things that you have to face, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in your life. So I told him, I said, hey man, sit down, and when you're ready to get back in, let me know. So I had
Mm.
a kid from Coatesville, Victor Ford Jr.
Mm-hmm.
I brought him off the bench, and as they say nowadays, that kids got to be ready. And Biz, as we called him, he could shoot, but because of the team we had, his minutes was very limited.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we were down 10, and I pulled Reek and put him in the game, and that kid hit like three threes. Brought us back in, and Reek was like, "Coach, I'm ready." And from that point, man, he just went to work. Him and Nas went to work.
Wow, wow. Now take me back to that moment when you knew it was over and y'all was gonna be national champs, man.
We just went on a run. Like I said, they was up on us like 10, and we went on a run, and then Courtney started locking up Corey. Um, Nas, Nas was doing this bully ball,
Mm-hmm.
and we just they couldn't play us man to man, right? Because now I was going to pick and roll with Reek and Nas.
Mm.
So pick your poison. They couldn't zone us because Reek started knocking down threes. You know, Nas was doing this thing, like we just had a squad. We were hard to guard.
Mm.
We were real hard to guard. And back then, Reek was my two guard.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Rat, which Dwayne Davis was my point guard.
Mm-hmm.
But fourth quarter, I put Reek at the point.
Mm.
So at the time, Reek was what, about 6'4",
Mm-hmm.
a point guard. So it was, again, pick your poison.
Mm. So
So
once go ahead.
once that we got to the fourth quarter and we were ahead by a few, I knew we was gonna win it, man. It was a good feeling.
Mm. And how was the celebration that night?
Q was like, "What y'all want to do?" They were like, "Coach, we want to go to Hooters." So he was like, "All
Uh,
right, go to Hooters."
Now with all of this going on, y'all traveling the country, going to winning the national championship, doing all that stuff. How is the treatment from Chester, from your community? Are they with y'all? Or are you dealing with some hate? Like, what's going on with the vibe from Chester while y'all making this run?
Initially, it was some hate because
Okay.
we had um Alonzo Cuddy Jones would play for Youth Interlock at the time, and we
Okay.
had
Okay.
Nasir Robinson, which was Youth Interlock.
Okay.
So
Okay.
of course, they were mad. Oh, y'all did that. So they were kind of mad, but the majority of the city, what I mean, celebrated because until this day, we were the only team from the Mid Atlantic region to win a national championship.
National title, indeed.
Right,
Indeed. So now you come home, you got the national title. Um, I think either right before y'all went or yeah, before y'all went was the first time I saw Reek play at Camp Next.
right, right.
Reebok Camp Next. I'm up at
Correct.
Reebok and I see this kid playing, and I'm like, whoa. Then after that, y'all went away and y'all did the national title thing.
Right,
And y'all come from the title, come from the championship. Now his name hot as fish grease.
right.
And take me to that point to where you saw things when the sneaker people get involved and you saw things start to change a little bit.
So the first person was Worldwide West, Win Wesley.
Okay. 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 Okay.
We had practice. Reek was at American Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So him and Nas, so we had practice. So West coming to the gym, and I heard the name, but I didn't know who he was. So
Mm-hmm.
he coming to the gym. What's up, nephew? And I look at him. I'm like, nah, my name Rasheed. So he started smiling. He said, I'm Uncle West. I said, man, I don't know you. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So he started smiling. So he said, let me ask you a question. He said, how you going to deal with all the pressure about these people over that kid right there? I said, ain't no pressure because I'm me and he's just a kid.
Mm.
So he's like, nah, I'm letting you know right now, they're going to be coming at him. I'm like, man, I'm not worried about that because this is basketball and, I'm not into it for no money. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is my passion. And he was
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? He said, yo, for you to have that attitude, he's like, you going to go far. He said, because
Mm-hmm.
it's a dirty game. And he's like, a lot of people,
Mm.
want to sell out. And I was like, nah. So
Mm.
that was the first time. But what happened was, shortly after that, I had moved to Atlanta. My daughter was born.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I ended up in Atlanta. My daughter, she was born, and I wanted to, be there, for my daughter. So I decided to move.
Mm.
And I was still doing the thing with the Raiders, but with them, I was the man that did everything. Q was the the person who was the director, but as far as finding tournaments, booking tournaments,
Mhm,
like I
mhm,
did all that because he was
mhm,
working for Reebok and was with AI, so he was always on the road. You
mhm,
know,
mhm, mhm,
um, and man, some of the stories that he used to tell me, man, oh, whew, I
mhm,
got some good stories. You know what I mean, from
mhm,
NBA
mhm,
players, stuff like that.
mhm,
That was just a great experience. So I ended up, moving to Atlanta. So we win a national championship. So we the defending champs, and of course, everybody, oh, the Raiders, the Raiders, Raiders. So I came back home. So he would fly me home for practice. You know, yeah, yeah, man. He would. We would have practice. He would fly me home. Practice and fly me back. So, um, like we had one tournament, so he flew me home, and then he was like, he said, man, I ain't even gonna lie. He's like, bro, it's not the same with you being hands on.
mhm,
You know, he was like, it's just a lot for me to do. You know what I mean? He's like, so I might just have my son team. And at this time, and I'll tell everybody like this: anybody in the Philly area, if I hadn't moved to Georgia, there would not be a team final.
mm,
I'm gonna stand on that
mm,
because Reek wanted to play with his friends, and we were defending champions.
mm,
So I'm gonna stand on. Had I not, or let me say like this, it wouldn't have been that very next year.
mm,
You know,
mm,
um, so that's how team final kind of came about because they were talking, but Reek he wanted to keep the team together, um, and finish it out with his boys, but um, I moved to Georgia. So that's how that came around. And Q couldn't, he was always on the road with AI and Reebok because at the time that's when Reebok was booming. They had AI, Yao
mhm,
Ming, Steve
mhm,
Francis, Brian Davis. Reebok had those dudes. So he was always on the road with them. Plus, he was the vice president of global marketing for Reebok, who at the
mhm,
time had Jay-Z,
mhm. I
50,
remember that.
you know
Yeah,
what I mean? So he was
I
on the
remember that.
road doing that type of stuff.
So once you moved, and then people started to go their separate ways, it was never no riff or nothing like that. It was just like the time had passed, and it was time for everybody to move on.
Right. Well, it was some great players that started with the Raiders. And of course Tyreek Evans, Nasir Robinson, Jermaine
Mhm,
Jackson.
mhm,
Um, and then we had a younger team, which was his son's team.
mhm,
Man, we had Tony Chenault,
mhm,
Devin Coleman, Emil
mhm,
Jefferson, a lot of those guys. And once I moved to Atlanta, because we won a national championship, because there was a lot of loyalty and love there, I told those kids that I wouldn't coach again until they graduated. And the last person
mm,
to leave that was big time was Emil Jefferson. He ended up going to Duke. So
mm,
once he went to Duke, a coworker of mine, they found out that I coached. So they were like, "Oh, my son played AAU basketball, played for this team called the Atlanta Knicks."
mhm,
And
mhm,
she was like, "I could, get you in contact with him." So, you know, that's how I started coaching again. Back then, it was the Atlanta Knicks / Southern Stampede. Was ran by Al Durham.
mhm,
You know
mhm.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
Al just popped on. I got my one story from. I remember you was talking about Tony Chenault and them when they
Right.
was playing for uh Reebok Raiders. So they eighth grade year, we had Lauren Jackson had threw MLK tournament out in Jersey in Lakewood
Yeah.
and this other school, right? So Reek and Nas came over there to watch them
Yeah.
with Ray.
Right.
And
Yep.
right now, back then I'm writing for Metro Hoops.
Right. Right.
So I'm at the game. Demetrius Walker and them came out here from Cali.
Yep.
Now we at the tournament. Darian Canillis, what's Darian Canis or whatever his name is
Yeah. Yeah.
from Adidas. He was there because this when Demetrius Walker was
It was
on Sports.
Adidas.
Yeah, he was on
Yep.
Sports Illustrated.
Yep.
So we get to the event. Now, the Team Cali coach, the dude that do the camp, uh,
Keller.
Joe
Keller.
Keller. Joe
Yep.
Keller. They they running through the tournament, right?
Yep.
Now they supposed to play Tony Chenault and them in the championship.
Exactly.
Joe Keller says we don't want to play them because
Yep.
they're in the 8th grade and we too good for all of them.
Yep.
We want to play your best 9th grade team. Now,
Exactly.
mind you, right? I'm sitting there, I'm like, so the Boston Saints had one
Yeah.
was winning the 9th grade division, but they only had 5 players.
Right.
So Pumpkin was like, yo, we only got 5. My boy's tired, this and that. We about to go back to Boston. And Joe was like, nah, y'all
Yeah.
can even get him and him. And he pointed at Reek.
Yep.
We want him to play.
Yep.
Now, he ain't have no sneakers, none of that stuff. He had some Timbs on
Yep.
and some jeans or whatever. So Ray, somebody gets him some sneaks.
Yeah.
They get him some shorts.
Yep.
And they let Nas play. And when I tell you, bro, and this is no lie, the way he demolished this kid, man. And it was kind of sad because
Yeah.
it took something out of that kid and he wasn't the same no more.
Yo,
Right.
after that game, Ray called.
Yeah.
Ray
He
called.
wasn't the same no more, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it was like, because it was so hyped up the way he was going at him. All the kids from Team Next and
Yeah.
Paul the team, Paul Gripper team.
Yeah. Yeah.
They was in the crowd. So every time Reed get the ball, everybody stand up like, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And when I tell you, he had about 33 in one half, bro.
Yeah.
It was crazy in there. That
Yep.
was one of the most like times I seen somebody get demolished at an event like that. And when I say it's sad because the kid wanted to compete, but the hype machine they had put around them
Yeah.
was serious. And then after that, you know how sometimes in boxing they say, like when the kid dude David Reed jumped in the ring too fast with Trinidad and he wasn't the same no more.
Yeah.
Demetrius
wasn't the
Walker.
same.
No, he wasn't the
He
same
wasn't the
after
same.
that no
He
more.
wasn't
It
the- no, he wasn't
shattered
the
it.
same.
It shattered his confidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
It shattered his confidence, man. That was my Reek story. So now you could go.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, Ray. Ray called me. He was like, "Yo, I'm telling you, Ray did this, Ray did that." But it's crazy because Reggie was actually a little mad about that, though. Reggie was a little mad about that, but Reek did his thing. You know what I mean? Reek did his thing.
So now you head down to Atlanta. You start coaching with Al and them in the Knicks. You know what I mean? Now take us down to the up north thing is over with. You down in Atlanta now. Now take us down to your life down there now.
So started coaching with Stampede, the Knicks. I was like, yo, you can have a 6th grade team. But so for me, the difference thing was at home we had a tryout, you know what I mean, and we just fielded the team. But with Al, he was like, well, you got to find your players. And I'm like, shit, I don't know nobody down here. So he's like, okay. So we didn't have a 6th grade team. He said, well, you'll just help me with my team, which is it was little Al, which is his son Al Dorm. He's doing well overseas. Man, they had a little guard, Zach Cook.
My boy, he used to come all the way to Jersey to my event.
Yeah. Matter of fact, when I first moved down here, you asked about the kid, and I was like, yeah. So that was crazy. So it was Zach Cook, kid Jay Estemy, Connor Haywood, who now play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We had a kid named Leonard. So we had some kids that Al had them from 5th, 6th grade all the way up. So I get with them. And then that's when they had started EYBL. So Al at the time was the only person that had 2 deals. He had a Converse deal with the Atlanta Knicks, and he had
I remember that.
With Stampede. So end up sticking with that. Stayed with Stampede for maybe 3-4 years. And one of the stories with Stampede, I will always tell Al, man, let your son be a point guard. Like, yo, because he reminded me of Reek a little bit. You know what I mean? Because, he was a lefty, but he was slim. He was tall. He could shoot
I remember
it.
I wrote about his son a couple times.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm telling you, I'm like, Al, man, I'm telling you, like, yo, like, don't worry about him being a scorer. Like, put the ball in his hand. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, yeah, you're right. But because him and Zach were so much good friends and they played together, Al did it his way, and it worked out at the end because all those guys end up, playing basketball and, in college, and now, they're playing, overseas. So, but I was
Mm-hmm.
telling Al, bro, like, I'm telling you, you're point guard, you're point guard. So, um, I was with Stampede for I think maybe 3 or 4 years. Uh, left Stampede, and I end up coaching with a team out of Florida
Mm.
called Nike South Beach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Was with those guys for a few years, and they lost their deal, but they ended up giving it to a team called the Night Riders.
Mm-hmm.
So Booby was the head coach, so he was like, "Man, we're gonna stay locked in." So we end up going to Night Riders. Was with Night Riders for about 3 or 4 years. It was a great experience, but you know, I just don't like a person who is controlling. And then, my philosophy is this: when it comes to kids, if it's not your biological son, one of the responsibilities as a coach is to put this kid in a better situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if
Mm-hmm.
you're always being authentic to these kids and to these parents, no matter where they go, the kid gonna always respect you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So those same kids that I coached when I was 14 years old that won a national championship, I still keep in contact with them to this day. And I'm 53 years old
Mm.
because I was always real with those dudes. You know what I mean? And like I talked about early on when I first got started, we wasn't sponsored.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Simons was the only team that was sponsored.
Mm-hmm.
So we played in his tournament. Ray Barbosa go off. You know what I mean? One year, then it was Will Sheridan going off. Next thing you know, he playing with them. But
Mm-hmm.
it was real because number one, we wasn't sponsored, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
parents had to pay. Number two, Jimmy had the plug to the camps.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So how could I be mad or hold a kid back that was a better situation?
Indeed. Indeed. That's real talk right there.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
And that's
real talk.
always been my motto, bro. Like, if you're doing right by these kids, man, your higher power always gonna do right by you. So I just, I live by the fact that there's no mud in my name, with this game of basketball.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then you leave the Night Riders, and then where you end up at?
Right now, I'm currently coaching with Team Thad. It's a Memphis-based program
Okay.
based out of Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
So they're sponsored by Thaddeus Young, who plays for Toronto Raptors right now.
Mm-hmm. So
You
you
know,
had the unique privilege to coach in the North. Then you
yeah,
went to the South.
yeah,
Now you over in Memphis, which is kind of South, kind of Midwest, just kind of type of thing.
right.
What's the difference between the players you think, or is it a difference between the
Oh,
up north players and the players down there?
um, yeah and no. So you can tell those kids who have up north roots that's playing down in Atlanta
Mm-hmm.
because they still got that dog mentality
Mm-hmm.
versus a kid that's born and raised in Atlanta.
Mm.
You know what I mean? The attitude is different. But up there, them kids is hungry, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the mindset is different. Like, up there, basketball, those kids look at basketball as like to help them change their lives. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Be it through school or playing professional.
Mm-hmm.
Down here, a lot of kids, they come from decent backgrounds. So a lot of them, in my opinion, they're not as hungry, compared to the kids from up north. Even
Mm-hmm.
the kids in Memphis, it's just a different mind, like I said, different mindset. And it's unfortunate because that being said, today's kids, man, they're not the same.
Mm. We about to get into that. How do you feel about? First, I'm going to ask you: is it essential for a kid to play on a sneaker circuit?
I'm gonna be biased and say it is,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
but in reality, it's not.
Mm.
Because
Explain it. Explain a little bit.
so I coach on EYBL, and in my opinion, that's the top grassroots circuit around, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it, the majority of McDonald's All Americans are EYBL kids, right? Um, the number of Nike clients in the NBA level are, majority EYBL kids.
Mm-hmm.
Nike our Nike is known for the guards and the wings. So if your son is a guard, if your son is a wing, week in and week out, he's going to go against somebody that's a top player, right?
Mm.
On Adidas, in my opinion, are known for the bigs. A
Mm.
lot of the big men come from the Adidas circuit.
Mm.
Under Armour, here and there. You know what I'm saying? Um, so for me, that EYBL is you know what I mean, the best thing to play in. But again, you gotta look at the Ball brothers. They were independent.
Mm.
You know, you got two of the three that's in the NBA right now.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And they did it their own way.
Now, do you think with the three, was it watered down, and especially if Puma get in, will Puma water it down more?
I think so. I think so because now is a money grab.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Is a money grab. Like I said back then, it was you just had EYBL. Then
Mm.
Adidas came on circuit. Then Under Armour. Now, like you said, now Puma doing that thing. So yeah, it's definitely gonna water it down. And then you're gonna have these grown adults selling things to these kids. Oh, I could get you 20 pair of shoes, or I could get you, like nah, bruh. So yeah, it's gonna be watered down because now you're lying to kids.
Now, do you think that this new way of the game has caused the kids to become entitled?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Uh, Like I said, back then it wasn't you know, no NIL. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even with the parents. You know what I'm saying? Back then, you know, it happened, but it wasn't where you had parents demanding, oh, I need a hotel room for me, the grandmother, I need rental car. It wasn't none of that. You know what I
Mm.
mean? It was my son is playing with you. You know what I'm saying? Y'all playing in Dallas, you know. Let me know where y'all staying at. Now they want flights. This is crazy. And
Now, I understand too. Back when you had the one and the two punch, maybe like y'all Nas and Reek, right?
right.
How do y'all deal with when the number 5 player parent start asking for these kind of things?
Well, I never really had to deal with it. You know what I'm
Uh-huh,
saying?
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Because when I had my crew back at home, we treated all those kids the same.
Okay,
Now,
okay, okay.
Reek did get special perks from Reebok, but
Mm,
but he never got those perks in front of the other kids.
okay,
You know what I
okay,
mean?
okay.
So everybody got the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when I would take Reek home, Reebok would have a box for him. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And Reek was so he was so humble, man. Mike, that dude would take what he wanted out the box and then get the rest of the people in the community, man.
That's good money right there. That's good money right there. We're gonna get to a little bit of that later. Now let's jump into, do you think it's the entitlement or it's the college coaches that impact the transfer portal the most?
Um, I think it was COVID.
Oh, let's talk about it. I never heard that angle.
Yeah, I just think it was COVID because before COVID, jokers wasn't transferring like they was, man.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So COVID come on board, you get an extra year, 2 extra years, right? Now these kids are jumping from this school to that school, and is not only is it impacting the college level, it's impacting the high school kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now you throw in the NIL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think the initial culprit of it was COVID.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Um, then now, like you said, man, I've heard some NIL stories, man. Because coaching on EYBL, you become friends with some college coaches, and you hear some of the stories. You know,
Mm.
and I heard this from a head coach mouth. About one player who asked for 500,000,
Mm.
and they was like, "Yo, bro, you're not going to get that." Well, I can get 500,000. And he was like, well, if you could get 500,000, you go ahead and get 500,000. The kid ended up transferring, and he's playing for another big time school, and he
Mm.
got 500,000.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So the name, the game is, is getting, you know, watered down in a sense where now you got these high school kids, you have these transfer, they're looking for money,
Mm-hmm.
and then my mindset is this: why are you chasing it now? If you a big time player, high school player, right? Why are you chasing 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, right? Well, nowadays you can make 200 million
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
if
yeah,
you do it the right way.
yeah, yeah. Now, do you think that this whole NIL thing? Because my thing was, and me and Chris Rivers talked about this. He disagreed with me. I told him that I felt like I understood that they should get paid, but I thought that they should put it in a fund, and then once you get done college, all that money is right there for you. I just think at that age, a lot of kids, one, it might hurt your work ethic.
Right,
Two, it's going to be harder to coach them.
right,
Three, um, making decisions. A lot of life changes decisions could be made
right,
when you had that kind of money, which can turn out to be not good decisions.
right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
right.
what do you think about that?
Um, I feel like those kids who come from unfortunate situations should
Mm.
be able to allow to be use some of that money to help their families out,
Okay, okay, I
right?
respect that. I respect
You
that.
know what I mean? Um, and then like you said, put in a trust fund or whatever like that to when they graduate. But man, it's crazy now to where I think it's Utah. Them dudes on the football team and the female they get pickup trucks.
Everybody, I saw that. I
You
saw
know what I'm
that.
saying?
Yeah.
So, how's it that, your mom or your pop don't have a vehicle of their own, but now you got a vehicle.
Mm.
So I just think that, those kids who come from less fortunate situations, that money should be able to help out those family members.
Now, another question I got. Do you think there should be a minimum year requirement in college basketball? And because in my point, I'm looking at a lot of these kids that's coming out early,
Hmm.
and it just seems like the G League is getting stacked. And I don't really see a lot of those. I don't know if a lot of those kids are getting degrees.
They not. They not. So yeah, the G League is hurting. Is hurting the game, right? I'd
Mm,
rather a kid be allowed to come out of high school than go to the G League
mm,
because let's think about it, right? You got the G League, but the main team is G League Ignite, right? That's the little feeder team. I had a kid that went to the G League Ignite, Isaiah Todd.
mm-hmm,
I felt as though Isaiah should have went to Michigan.
mm-hmm.
He went to Ignite, got some money. Right
I know
now,
his family. I know his people. He
yeah,
played in my tournaments. Yeah.
right. So I just think, and at the time, they had to do what was best for them. So I'm not
Mm-hmm,
knocking it. I just
mm-hmm,
felt like had he went to Michigan for at least 1 year to
mm-hmm,
learn under Jawan, he'd have been better prepared for that NBA level.
mm-hmm,
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the G League, look at Scoot Henderson right now. You know,
mm-hmm.
G League product started off struggling. Is a difference. But if you go to college, you know what I mean. Um, develop your body because I just think with that G League, you rushing the product.
Mm,
You're rushing the
mm,
product. You know
mm.
what I'm saying? So now you get a kid go to the G League, get drafted, and you still sitting.
Indeed,
You know what I
indeed,
mean? You still sitting.
indeed. Um, you working in the mental health field, right?
Yes. Yes.
Do you think that it should be something put in place or more of an effort to put in place to deal with players that return to their communities when their career over? Because I know a lot of players that when they feel they suffer with depression and things of that
Yeah.
nature when they feel like they didn't reach the the pinnacle that most people, the expectations
Yeah.
that most people thought they should get to, and there's nothing there to catch that fall for them, to like bring them
Right.
back to reality, like, yo, that didn't work out, but
Right.
life goes on. And a lot of them, some of them are getting on substances and
Right.
going through a lot of things and suffering in silence. Do you think there should be some kind of programs or efforts put together to help those kind of players?
Oh, absolutely. And I go back to my days with the Raiders. You
Okay.
know, every kid has, well, not every kid, but a lot of kids that play basketball have hoop dreams of going to the NBA, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, on that team that I had, we figured Reek was the only NBA player, right?
Mm.
But we told these kids, listen, you may not be an NBA player, but you still can be affiliated with the game of basketball by being an agent, by being a
Mm.
sneaker
Talk about it.
designer, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? By being an NBA owner. You still can be affiliated with the game. And, we just stressed that to the kids, like, you know, we had at the one point we had 3 teams with 30 kids, right? Well, out of those 30 kids, we had a high likely that only one of those kids was gonna go to the NBA.
Wow.
But we tried to instill in these other kids, listen, do something else. We had a kid, Travis Robinson. Travis
I
at one
remember
point,
Travis. I
right?
remember
He
Travis.
was working for
Yeah.
the Sixers. Tony
Yeah.
Chenault. Tony Chenault is into movie and production now.
I know. I gotta holler at him. I
You know what
gotta
I'm
holler at
saying?
him. Uh huh.
So, we just try to instill those kids that, you're not playing the game, but you still be connected with the game. And like you said, I do believe and feel like, things need to be in place because you have those kids who, again, and I don't know where you're at now, but the Demetrius Walker type kid who at one
Mhm.
point was put on that pedestal,
Mhm.
and he didn't make it. Is he considered a bust? You know,
Mhm.
um, so yeah, I feel like they need to have some things in place. You know, in the NBA now, the NBA have each team has certified psychologists psychologists on their teams now for these people, and I think Kevin Love kind of brought that to the
Yeah.
forefront. You
Yeah.
know,
And those are the guys that's there. So
yeah,
imagine the ones that's
that
like
ain't
in
there,
the, yeah, that's like in the G League and stuff like
right?
that. That's dealing with unreached expectations. You feel what I'm
Correct.
saying?
Yeah, so I definitely agree with that. Yep.
So now we reached the part of the program where I do my 5 cards. You know what I mean? I pull up 5 cards and you tell me what's the first thing that come to your mind when you see the cards.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Here's the first one. This is from your hometown, Chester. It got the 80, I think it's the 83 champs
83
and the
team,
80
yeah.
and the 89 champs. What comes to your mind when you see a picture like this?
History,
Mm,
history. And I,
mm,
and I'm gonna tell you a story how I really got into coaching.
mm,
I call him my brother, my best friend. He's one of the Chester greats, Larry Aubrey, point
mm,
guard, played at Coppin State.
mm,
He was the one who kind of let me know, hey man, you could do this. So when I see that, I think of that legend, those histories. I see Fred Pickett in there, Darren Pearsall. I see Snap.
mm,
I see a lot
mm,
of those guys who, Steve the Nurse Miller. You know what I mean? That played
mm,
at Coppin State. So I see a lot of those guys who gave the city hope. You know what I mean? Back then and now.
mm. Okay, okay. I admire the fact that because I read a little bit about it and they said that 83 team was the first team to get over the hump.
Yeah,
Like y'all
yeah.
had all the other trips, but they kept losing.
They kept losing. Yeah,
Yeah, and they got over. See, where I'm from, Trenton, we haven't won since '61. And
wow.
so we had that small city like that, but we got a lot of parochial and prep schools right there
Right.
that take a lot of the talent too. But it's dope how y'all have that rich tradition.
Yeah, yeah,
You get what I'm saying? In that kind of city like that y'all can lean on. All right,
yeah.
let's go to the next one.
Hey man, that was the best time of my life coaching those dudes. I remember that picture. That picture
Mm.
right there. We played in tournament in Maryland. Um,
Maryland Invitational.
now it wasn't Maryland Invitation. It was
Okay. Okay.
PG. It was a PG Jaguars or something like that. I know it was black
Okay.
and gold.
Okay.
So that
Okay.
that was their tournament, and we ended up winning that. And the big kid Jermaine, he broke his wrist, so he couldn't play. But
Mm-hmm.
those dudes, man, I'm gonna take it from from left to right of myself. That's Kevin Nelson, that's Dwayne Davis, that's Marvin Dukes, that's Courtney
Mm.
Stanley. The back row, that's Nasir Cunningham, Austin Davis, Cuddy number 50, Tyreek Evans, that's Biz number 3, and then the back row, Denzel, Jermaine, and BJ. And the kid Denzel is a surgeon now, bro.
Wow. Wow.
He's a
Wow.
surgeon.
That's Nas 35?
Yeah, Nas is 35, yes.
Wow. Nas was taller than Reek then, look. Or
Yeah.
did Reek just slump down?
Nah, so we said Reek was 6'4", we said Nas was 6'6".
All right, next one.
Hey man, that kid right there made coaching real easy for me. And it's crazy because Q gave it a nickname Too Easy. You know. So that was at Bob Givens. It's at Bob Givens.
Okay.
Big homie. Big homie. He taught me a lot about the professional side of basketball. And he always used to say things to me, and I didn't get it at first. But one of the things he used to tell me, man, he said, you are the closest, you're the average of the 5 people closest connected to you. And when I was, younger, I never understood that. But, he broke it down to me. And like I said, man, just from a basketball perspective, I had good times. I hung out with NBA personnel, heard some LeBron stories. So, that's big bro right there, big homie.
Now this last one, you don't got to get that deep into the wild part of it, but it's kind of a, do you think this was too much too soon?
Absolutely.
Talk about it.
The kid, everybody was counting money. When I say everybody, his handlers, right? You take a kid who had a rough upbringing, right? You put him with a person who didn't see an African American kid that had some trauma. You just saw dollar signs. You take a kid from Miami, never seen snow, used to 80-degree weather, and you send them to putting them science. Disaster waiting to happen, dog.
Sad, man. Sad.
Yeah.
It's sad. Sad story, man.
Yeah.
So, man, this just been a great journey. I have a couple more questions for you. I wanted you to give me a scenario where you feel like God has brought you through so you can be an example for other people.
Just where I came from to where I'm at right now, through basketball. Basketball has allowed me to go places where I probably wouldn't have went, meet people that I probably would never met, develop relationships with, professional athletes, college coaches, and just good parents. You know what I mean? And for a kid, like I said earlier, I never played basketball. I played football. And to be successful with the game of basketball, I just think, like, as the song say, when I look back over my life, how far I've come, just being from where I'm from, a lot of people don't make it out. A lot of people get stuck. A lot of people don't want to leave. A lot of people are afraid to leave. So yeah, that's that.
How do you feel you would be remembered?
What's funny? I coached a kid, Colin Sexton. With Southern Stampede. And he was with Pebblebrook, so I was helping out with Pebblebrook. So one day, me and his dad was having a conversation, and I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Know what? A lot of parents don't understand when it's all said and done. What do you want your legacy to be?
Mm.
So I was like, D, what you want Colin legacy to be? And, he was just said, man, I just want my son to be, he explained to me what, he felt it was. So for me, I just want, my legacy to be that of a person who, you know, never took advantage of a kid when it came to basketball,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, always did the best and the right thing for that kid and his family, always gave them the best and the honest information, um, and always wanted to be affiliated with being a winner.
Wow.
And the winner is not just in wins and losses,
Wow.
you know.
Wow. Brother, you in my book, you definitely a legend. And like I said, I did this to make sure that guys like you get their flowers. But before we go, I got one dedication to do. I usually do this in the beginning of the show, but
Right.
this one is definitely a little touchy for me, so I saved it to the end. You know what I mean? So today's show is dedicated to the memory of Terrence Clark, man.
Wow. And
Terrence Clark, man. And I'm gonna read the thing first, then we could talk about it. Terrence Clark, born September 6, 2001, and tragically passed away April 22nd, 2021. Clark played in the basketball spotlight events for most of his young career while also being a diary of a baller contributor. Terrence was extremely talented in basketball, but was also known for his beautiful smile and great personality. He could light up the room with his presence. The basketball world was crushed when he left us. This kid right here, bro, was one of the most beautiful kids I ever was around.
yeah.
I'm not even talking about how nice he was on the court. I'm
Right.
just talking about his bubbly personality off the court, very polite, always laughing, joking, having fun. You know, when you just be around a kid that had that good spirit,
Yeah.
that kid had that spirit, man. For real, man. And I remember one of the last times I saw him, PSA Cardinals had a showcase up in New York. And I went up there and I saw him, and this when he was blowing. He was about to,
Yeah.
Kyler Perry was there to see him.
Right.
That's when he was about to, he had probably already verbal when he was going to that next level. And he
Right.
still ran up to me and gave me a hug like he was still in seventh, eighth grade. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
A beautiful kid, man. And the for him to go so young, I was crushed, man. That's why I
Yeah.
say this to the end instead of the beginning of the telecast because I wanted to affect your show when I was doing your show, man.
Right. Man, and I'm gonna tell you, the day that happened, we were actually in Dallas for a tournament, and
Mhm.
a kid that was playing for me at the time, Jakai Howard,
Mhm.
um, good friends with with Terrence, and um, as the plane landed, I had some messages, and it was a message from Jakai mom, and she was like, "Coach, can you call me?" And I called her, and you know, I had already seen stuff on social media, so I called her. She was like, "Listen, before you find out, Jakai, good friend Terrence just passed away." So she was
Mm.
like, "Can you please just make sure my son is good?" Um,
Mm.
got to the hotel room, and I went in there, and Jakai was, emotional, and we just, sat there and just I let him, vent, cry, express himself. But yeah, that kind of, it messed me up too because, seeing the kid on the EYBL circuit, like he was, like you said, is a good kid, good spirit, you know. Hey, what's up, coach? So
Mhm.
he was like, was a great kid. So definitely, the basketball world, lost a great person, man.
I
You know,
know, man. I know, man. And I remember when I found out, I called the coaches from Expressions, and the first thing came out my mouth was, "Please tell me this not real."
yeah,
And they was like, "Nah, it's real, bro." And I
yeah,
started crying, man, because
yeah,
that kid touched my heart, man. You
right,
know what I mean? So
right.
she R.I.P. Terrence, man. She, man, it's been a good journey, man. I'm glad you popped on tonight, especially in last minute notice, man. I
You know,
want
I
to thank
appreciate
you
it.
coming on, man. And I also want to thank you for a lot of the phone calls, man, you had when I was going through my situation, man.
Right.
You being there for me and reaching out to you, man, and confiding in you, man. I want to thank you for being a friend, brother.
Oh man, appreciate it, Mike. Thank you for having me, man. And like you said, a lot of people don't know we go back since 2004. We got 20 years in, pretty much,
I
man.
know, I know,
20,
man. I
20
know,
years in.
man. I
And
know, man.
when you meet good people, no matter how far the distance is, man, you always gonna feel connected. And like you said, man, when I moved to Atlanta, we've always maintained that relationship, and that's what I
Mhm.
enjoy about basketball is you
Mhm.
make these relationships, and
Mhm.
you know, you develop, the brotherhood. A good, well, I'm not gonna say a good friend of mine, but a friend of mine who I'm starting to develop a good relationship is a guy from the area, Munchie.
Mhm. Mhm.
Munch got that book out, man, and I read
Mhm.
that book. So I just say, and as long as
I
I'm
had
doing
him
it,
on. I
yeah,
had him
yeah,
on.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah, that's
know,
my boy. Like that's my man, man. Yeah, I had him on. I had him
right.
on.
And it's crazy because I've been coaching EYBL for 10 years, and I would just always speak to Munch, but
Mhm.
now we have conversations, and
That's my
it's
guy,
crazy.
bro. I can see
You
how
know?
y'all two can link. I see
Yeah,
that. I
yeah.
see that. So man, it's been good, man. I'll talk to you later. I'll send you the recording and I'll send you the clips and be blessed, brother, man. Give my love to the family, man.
No doubt, man. Appreciate you, bro. Most
Uh,
respect.
all right.
Yep.
Another good show by the grace of the Most High. I want to thank She for coming on, man, and the Most High giving us the power to be able to have a good show. I don't know if the Instagram live went through because it was echoing when I was trying to do the live on here, so I don't know if it went through. But if not, we'll still have the clips up there. I want you guys to tune in tomorrow for the Sober Heads podcast. I got a very special guest, the world renowned B McFly, the number one sober motivator. He's supposed to stop through tomorrow to share his experience, strength, and hope. Um, so tune in tomorrow night on Facebook and on YouTube Live for the Sober Heads podcast. I want to thank everybody from tuning in and stay on the lookout for our next week guest. And this is Mike. Enjoy the rest of your night. Shalom.